there are times of maybe unemployment, which I feel in every other job or profession, it's always seen as a very, I don't know, maybe not the most positive thing to be unemployed. Whereas for me, or for our profession, I think it's also good to have some periods of rest and of recreation, basically, and to rediscover your artistic side and what you really want to do.
Good evening, Alex. It's so lovely to meet you here on Zoom.
Good evening. Hi. Thank you so much for the invitation.
I saw on Instagram that you were involved in the production of Grease, and I am such a big fan of that film and the musical, and I just want to really talk about that as well.
Yeah.
So how did you played the part of Danny?
Yes, Danny Zuko. Mm-hmm.
Now tell me a bit about this. Did you do it here in Vienna?
It was a little bit outside of Vienna. So it was in Amstetten, which is still kind of close to Vienna. It would take us 50 minutes on the train to get there.
Okay.
But I think these summer productions around Vienna, they're still quite popular even for Viennese people and for the audience that we would have here in Vienna. So that's why many Viennese people actually were involved in the production, and many people from Vienna were in the audience as well.
Oh, okay. And tell me about the role that's associated with singing, and because musical, singing, dancing. Were you trained for both?
Yeah, I was I trained in Berlin, and I studied musical theater. So there's actually singing, acting, and dancing. And I would say that all three parts were equally important for this university. And so, although it's a very acty and singy show, we also had a lot of dance scenes. So actually every song that we did, like the opening, the hand jive, Shaking at the High School Hop, of course, Grease Lightning, like all these songs everyone knows. We danced a lot in this production. So I would say that all three parts also were quite equal in this production as well. Okay.
And you did it in German?
Yeah, the dialogues were in German and the songs were all in English.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's also very common with these kinds of musicals that people know, and it's always going to be in English, the songs.
Yeah, because I think it takes away from the song a little bit if you translate it, because you just can't get that lyrics right.
Yeah.
I remember speaking to somebody who was in West Side Story, and this is also what she said, that the songs stay the same.
Yeah.
But now this is such an iconic, film. That was such an iconic film, and I remember. This is unbelievable. I tried to see today what date it was released in the cinema. And I was actually, it was my first year in high school when it was released, such a long time ago. And I remember I was just absolutely crazy about this film. I've seen it so many times in the cinema, and also on video, and later on when it was on VHS, released on VHS. But how is it for you? You were not even born when this film came out. No. Did you know what a big deal this was?
I didn't. Well, I think Grease is one of the things like Lion King or like other very like Dirty Dancing. There are just some movies and some musicals that for decades they're just so popular, and they have a certain popularity that just goes on and on and on. And I knew Grease was one of them. And I saw that when they announced that Grease was coming to Amstetten, I thought, that would be a nice thing to do. And that would be fun doing. I think I'm going to apply for Kaniki. I think it's cool, like a bit more like of a rough guy, and try to just, you know, find another role and just see what happens. And then, yeah, we had the audition, and our director, Alexander, he was very keen that I just auditioned for the Danny part, and he gave me all the scenes, and I had to do everything in certain like constellations and stuff. And then I quite early in the audition, I got the feeling I don't think Kiniki is going to work out in this production. Really? But I thought, oh, there are so many great singers here. Like, I don't think Danny would be the thing I get, but let's see what happens. And then I just had a very good audition, and I was paired with Daike, who then was also the Sandy in our production, and we immediately clicked. And that's quite a rare moment for me, to find people, especially in an audition setting where everyone is quite tense and just like, yeah, excited and nervous, to find people that you really click with. And we didn't really know each other before. Like, we knew who we were because we had friends, but not that much. And then I was just thrown in there with the scenes and with all the papers and stuff. And I luckily was able to read from the paper. And then we just had this audition, and yeah, 2 days later, I got the call from Alex saying, yeah, we would like you as Danny. And I was just like, God, that's crazy. That's so crazy, because it's such an iconic role, and it's played by John Travolta. So everyone who I was talking to, well, nearly everyone, before this musical happened, everyone was like, but you know, it's John Travolta, and like big footsteps that you're going to follow and stuff. And I was just like, oh my God, let's see what happens. But then in the end, it was so much fun, because it was just a big challenge, dancing and singing wise, of course, and also acting wise, because the role I played before was very much like in Cats, the protector of the tribe. He was very, not stiff, but he had a lot of like a calmness. And with Danny and with our whole Greece setting, it was high energy, always up there, and always quick. And I always compare this to like I don't know, like a marathon, basically, just running and just being super quick, and always like almost that kind of sitcom setting that we're in. And yeah, but it turned out to be great fun, and we had a great cast, and it was so much fun with everyone. We got along so well, and I think everyone was so sad when we played our last show. It was quite emotional, but yeah, it was a great time.
But you know, this era that you were playing now, I mean, this is one of a kind. I don't think it's ever been. I mean, it didn't have a follow up. It was just those years in the 50s where the guys were just absolutely like that, and the hair and so on. Did you have to go and look at the film and see how it was done, or see the mannerisms, or did you just do your own thing?
It was kind of a mix, I would say, because the good thing about an iconic movie or whatever's been made before is that you can actually get an impression of how they did it, and how and why it's been perceived that well by the people. But this is also the dangerous thing, because you then see things that you maybe try and copy, which is then maybe not your own. So I had a look at the movie, and I was like, okay, let me just get into the feeling of the time, as you said, like the 50s. We also spoke about this era, like what is it that is so exciting about being young in the 50s? Like what are we breaking free from? What do we want? What do we desire? What are our fears? What is going on in a teenage mind in the 50s? But then I really try to kind of make it my own, because all the different, let's say, Dannys, they're all so different. Like, what does being cool mean to the individual performer? And what does being cool, or pretending to be cool, but then actually being scared or in love, or like, where is this wall? Like, how does it feel, and how would I react? And I think in the end, because I watched it in the West End afterwards, after we finished our run, and that was a completely different thing. So that was very interesting for me to see. Like, it's the same musical, but everyone plays the role so differently. That was actually very interesting, because our version was a bit more sitcom-y, I would say, whereas the London production was a bit more like, how would you say, like, if you saw these people in the street, you would actually believe they would behave like this, whereas our version was sometimes a bit more like the movie, I would say. But based on our true feelings. So it wasn't, I wouldn't say over the top, but it was a kind of behavior that we maybe would not consider normal or an everyday kind of situation.
I'm just, and I'm also wondering always, with these musicals that have such a history, really, because you're just thinking in this scene where it's actually the things that happened there in that time and in the play or in the musical is actually things that happen today as well, but it's just in a different way. Like, Danny is actually ghosting Sandy, but he's doing it in real life. It's like
that's true.
turning around and pretending not to know her. But in this day and age, people do it on text, and do it on the phone. So I wonder if, a younger generation like you, for example, if you get these things, if you get the difference in the dating scene than now.
Yeah, definitely. I'm just thinking of the drive-in movie scene where Danny tries to be a little touchy with Sandy, but doesn't really know how to do it. And this is also quite a dangerous scene, and we actually talked about this a lot, because nowadays it's very different how people meet. I mean, we all know that's not the same as it was in the 50s, where a touching a person is just so different today. I feel like you meet someone, and then almost immediately you kind of, maybe for me, because I'm around performers, we always hug, and we are very touchy people usually. But back in the days, you would be like, oh, can I touch her? How do I touch her? Like, for me, discovering how would I move my arm around her if I'm not quite sure, and just this kind of physicality back in the 50s, that was very interesting. But then also, and this is why the car scene can be a little tricky, because nowadays, if someone says, "Stop touching me, stop it," you would stop, and you would feel, okay, this is what I would, and it's kind of uncomfortable for that person. But in this scene, it continues, and it goes on and on and on until it's really enough. And this is always the question: how do you set up the scene? And for us, it was a very playful approach, I would say, because we both, Sandy and me, and I think we found a very good way of dealing with this and not making it half a rape, basically. And we kind of took the approach of being very playful with it and excited, and we both want to touch each other, we want to kiss each other, we're in love, and we want to, but no one really knows how to express this feeling. And then it's just like, at first it was fun, but then no, now it's enough, Danny. And then I think we kind of dealt with it in a very respectful way, I would say.
No, well, this is interesting, because this, we don't realize that, but these were big changes, from those times to now, really big changes, and very sensitive things as well, where you say, if somebody says no, then it has to be actually an immediate stop. But but now, before Greece, you were also in a very iconic. You seem to hit the icon. Is it because you were in Cats?
Yes, yeah, we
Yeah.
had a huge revival in Vienna with Cats, and I think it was also the 40-year celebration around this time, or was it 2020? I'm not quite sure. Around this time, it was the 40th birthday of Cats, basically, and that was that was crazy. That was completely insane because with Cats, kind of everything started in the German-speaking area with the musical theater, opening up musical theater to a broad audience, to many people. We had so many people in the audience in Vienna who said this was my first musical that I've ever seen and that I've watched when I was a child. And it's like kind of a circle that keeps on going, because also in Vienna we had many young people saying this is my first musical. So that was just very rewarding from this point of view, because many people have such a deep emotional connection with this musical, and that's why it was very special that we did it here in Vienna. And unfortunately, we all know like Corona hits, but we when we were open, we were very successful and well sold, well, almost sold out all the time. Like the first season would have been completely sold out if we wouldn't have to close down in March 2020. But yes, another iconic musical.
Yeah.
Also, this role that I played, Munkustrap, he's the kind of the narrator in the show, and he, as I said before, he's the protector of the kittens of the tribe, and he's trying to, or he's growing into this leader position, like a young princely role, I would say. And back in the days when Cats opened here, this role was played by Steve Barton, and he was also the first Graf von Krolok in the Dance of the Vampires. And growing up and being in university, whenever I listened to the Cats soundtrack, I always heard his voice, and he's also on the Vampire soundtrack, which I love a lot. And I always heard his voice. And when I realized that I'm going to play this role, I was just I'm still in shock. Yeah, actually.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Yeah, because he was such an iconic person and performer, and he unfortunately died very young. But that was a huge honor, like not only being in Cats, but in Vienna, and also following Steve Barton in this role. And we're also on a CD now, so imagining that people who go to uni now or who listen to Cat soundtracks in German, that they're going to listen to this. It's just, it's,
Yeah.
very proud of that.
But how did you land the role? Were you then also still studying, or did you do work before?
Yeah, I was, well, by the time when I did the audition, I was still in uni. Yeah. And I saw that Cats was coming. I saw the announcement and I thought, well, might just give it a try. Like, let's just see what happens, because I know it's a dance show and I'm not the dancer type. Like, I can move, but I never thought Cats would be the thing to do. But then I knew one person from my uni who was also in my ballet class, like in my ballet level for like 4 years. He got the Ram Tum Tugger in the tour and then like in earlier versions. And I thought, okay, so well then if he with his dance ability can do it, then maybe I can do it too. So I kind of saw this as my, how would you call it, as my motivation of just throwing myself in this audition and trying to give my best. And also same with Greece, I had a great audition. It was maybe not technically perfect, but I had a very good feeling. It was actually fun. I always, when I'm in auditions now, I'm always thinking auditions can be fun. Make auditions fun. But yeah, and then I got to the second round, and usually with Cats you would not apply for one certain role, but you would just go to the audition in the first round and you would just sing a song or two, and then the creative team would decide in which role they want to see you. So if I I don't know, let's say I would have applied for the tugger and they hear my voice, or they hear or see how I move, or see my figure, and then they would maybe say, oh no, he's better in this position, or he's better in that position, because it's quite typecast as well. Like with a certain height, you can't play certain roles, and then with the sound of the voice, I'm more of a warm baritonal singer, so maybe the rock songs are not really what they would see me in, the creative team. So for the second round, they said, okay, please prepare the stuff for Munkustrap. And I thought, okay, good, let's do this. I did the second round, and then I had another offer, and then I talked to the casting director of the VBW, the stage in Vienna, and I said, I need to know as soon as possible. And then he just said, don't say yes to this other place. Just wait to the weekend is done, and then I'm gonna let you know. And then on Monday, it was Carnival in Cologne. I was there. It was my first time Carnival in Cologne, 11:30, I think, and I got the call, and yeah,
amazing.
That was I'll never forget. I was standing, I think, next to a door or something, and I had the phone next to my ear, and I was just sinking down on the door because I was so overwhelmed.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
Especially because it was you were still in uni, and so this was going to be your first job in such an amazing role, such an amazing musical.
Yeah.
But I also spoke to your artistic director, Christian, and he told me how difficult it is for you as musical theater actors and dancers, because the roles are so specific. You know, if they want somebody to, it's not that you are not good, but it's you have to have that criteria to be able to do that role. But now this is also now something you are now freelance, because now the run is finished, the whole season or the seasons that you had. Was this difficult for you then because this must be, you have performances every night, so this becomes part of your life now.
Yeah, incredibly challenging, and especially, well, this has many layers. So it's not only the first job, it's a big job after uni. It's a good salary that I got for 3 years continuously, even through Corona. We were secure. That was very, very good. It was a role that demanded a lot from me. Like every night was not a challenge, but I took it very seriously, and I almost challenged myself every day to try and be better or improve things, or find new things that would make the show exciting or new or feel new, because I don't like reaching a certain point and then just staying there, or just get the mentality of, oh, I'm here now and it's fine and it's okay. I can rely on that now. I don't really ever want that. And so this is this has been going on for 3 years basically. I always say we did it for 3 years because the Corona situation, yes, but we kept on training more or less. But then when the lockdowns were almost finished, we thought, okay, now we need to get back in shape. And like it was always a constant situation that we had to work on the body, on the voice, on all these things. So I always say we did Cats for 3 years. And then I was actually thinking about this last week a lot, because I thought, okay, I had a good start in the job and that was all fine. But now this whole process of going to auditions, getting a no, these situations, like how do I deal with it? And I find it incredibly difficult. I mean, it's probably always going to be difficult in this job. Doesn't matter if you're a dancer, an actor, a singer, or musical theater, or whatever it is. This constant situation of being judged, getting feedback, maybe getting constructive feedback. Sometimes you get very harsh feedback and very destructive feedback. How do I deal with this? And how do I deal with this as the performer, Alexander? And how do I deal with this as the person? And I find that in times very difficult, because I always imagine these two people like circles, and then in the middle they have like a shared space, so to say. But then, especially in lockdown, or if you get used to something, to a certain situation, I feel like the circles, they kind of almost overlap a lot until they almost become one. But I always try to pull them out, and in this process of pulling them out, I discover situations, or I'm in situations where I feel very uncomfortable, or I don't really stressed, and then I'm thinking, okay, why am I stressed now? Why does this bother me? Why do I take this feedback very personally? Why do I care about what this person thinks so much at this certain point? Because I was so used to the situation that I played this show every night, almost every night. And and it's also the fact that I could eat what I wanted during Cats. That's over. That's not the case anymore. need to be careful with this now. But also interesting to see that the body adjusts to the challenges and to the daily work, and also to see that there is this kind of progress. So many different aspects, many different layers in there, but
it's really, I can understand that when you are not on stage, or you're not actively dancing or singing, you are not doing what you are trained to do and what you want to do. So it must be hard, these intervals almost between these productions, that you have to now, in a way, motivate yourself and keep your body into shape, because of course you have to, when you go and audition, you have to also then be prepared and so on. So I can imagine that that's a tricky part of what you're doing. And it's also the routine that you are in when you're in a performance like that.
Yeah. And I also feel that I'm a person who gets used to a situation very quickly, and I find the comfort in this. And I know that a change of theater, a change of whatever musical you're doing, or even if it would be a change in, I don't know, I go from on stage to, I don't know, dubbing or shooting commercials or something, that my first reaction is always this fear of this new situation, and I'm always pulling back. And I experienced this with the current show I'm doing. I went in there and I thought, why am I felt I'm not really there. I'm not really present. I'm not my usual self. Like, what's going on? And but I think that's good. I always think, and I always say that realizing is a first step, and that's actually a very important step, because I think in every job, in every community, in every surroundings we're in, there are always people who maybe do not get to the point of realization, or just finding out what it is that's maybe triggering or making them feel uncomfortable. And throwing myself in these situations is of course always hard to get through, but I think, and I know in the back of my head, that it's always a good thing, and it's gonna get me further from where I am now if I continue working. And that's always my goal, to get further and further and further. But then also, if there are times of maybe unemployment, which I feel in every other job or profession, it's always seen as a very, I don't know, maybe not the most positive thing to be unemployed. Whereas for me, or for our profession, I think it's also good to have some periods of rest and of recreation, basically, and to rediscover your artistic side and what you really want to do. And that's what I'm excited about.
Yeah, I think if you're open like that, for maybe different challenges and maybe different things, then that also develops you as an artist. And if you were just going to play the same part for years and years and years, then of course there will be nothing that you can step out of and do. But it's so interesting your work and your also the adapting to new casts, the people that you have to get along with and that you have to play in this musical together with. And how do you see that social aspect of it, that you have also different people, but also you're almost sometimes also in a competitive sense against these people?
Yeah. Well, first about the social setting, I think that can be a very good thing and a very I think in general, I think it's a very positive thing, because being around different people all the time makes me also always think of how do I approach a person, how do I talk to people, where do I have to be maybe sensitive in what I say, or where do I, it's like these soft skills, I would say, in like communication and being with different people. But then on the other side, a colleague of mine said that recently, who I did Grease together with, and now I'm always also in the new production, I'm also with her. And she said she finds it very hard to open up to new people all the time. And then I thought, actually, yeah, that's very true. Because as I said, we're not only very, most of the performers that I met, very touchy people, very, you sort of get a group feeling very quickly. And I think it's sometimes hard to balance when I need the time for myself to really rest and really process what happened, or really just be with myself, because I actually enjoy that a lot, being with myself sometimes. And then also being this more outgoing person, social person in this group setting. So this is like a constant balance, I feel. But within the last two productions, so actually at the moment it's Honk, it's from the Ugly Duckling. It's a musical about the Ugly Duckling. And Grease, I found the cast there was a lot of harmony, and it was very nice and a very good feeling. I didn't feel that there was any kind of competition. I felt that everyone who got their part was kind of more or less happy with it. I mean, otherwise they wouldn't have signed. But it was everyone wanted the best for their colleagues.
Oh.
And if it's a situation like this, I love it, because we're not perfect, and things are not perfect, although we strive to be imperfect. I think in every part of creative life, or in general, we always want to be perfect. But I always remember this quote by Idina Menzel, who was Elphaba on Broadway, for example, the first Elphaba. And she said, I sing how many thousand notes a show, and why do I go home and punish myself for the 2 notes that maybe weren't perfect that night? That's live theater, and that's what happens. And if I have the feeling that the group is very supportive and wants the best, then I can let go and enjoy. And I know that this is not always the case, but I'm really hoping that I get more casts like this, where we all just have the feeling of we can let go and we can just enjoy what we do and actually have fun. And it doesn't need to be a tense environment, or we don't need to make big things out of small things, for example. But this is also probably a learning process, because I remember when I started with Cats, I took things a lot of things way too seriously, and I always thought, oh, but this needs to be like this, and I was very like boom, 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 until I realized with input from creative people around me and friends and relationships that it doesn't have to be like this. And so I'm very grateful for this environment that taught me these things as well. And I in auditions as well, I always try to not think about the competitive side, but this is me talking in a good situation. If I'm maybe in not a good position in my head, or if I'm down or exhausted, then immediately all these demons kick in of, there are people who are better. There are people who can dance better. They look better. They did better jobs than you. They blah, blah, blah. They know the director already. You don't have a chance anyway. It's basically this constant battle, more or less. But in some situations, I'm better to silencing these sides that are not very constructive.
Well, I spoke to a opera singer once, and she said, a young opera singer who was also doing a lot of auditions, and she said she actually enjoys them because she goes in as if she's just going to sing that part. You know, she's just going to enjoy it. And I thought, hey, what a great way to approach an audition, to think this is just a lovely experience that I'm going to do, you know? So
I think that's a very important way of approaching this, because at the end of the day, you can just do what you do, and you can just prepare as much as you can, as best as you can. But what happens in the room is not always a reflection of what you're basically able to do. When you're nervous, when you're excited, like things, it's difficult to always maintain this level that I have in the room, in a good sound surrounding, when I'm with myself, when I'm feeling comfortable. I had moments where I sang, I don't know, Jesus Christ Superstar, the high rock G up there in Gethsemane. And I'm like, oh, wow, yeah, I'm really feeling it. And then I go in this audition and I'm like, I was like, what's going on there? Like, what can I do? Of course, that will come with experience, probably. And I always hope it gets better. I met many colleagues who say, it doesn't get better, but I hope it gets better. But actually just going in there and enjoying what you do, I think this is, I have to take that with me in the next auditions, because it's all, as I said, also with cats. If someone is looking for a specific kind of person or a type, or if it should match with another person that's already been casted, it's always, there are so many factors in deciding who gets a role that is, even if I think, oh, but I'm really good for it, or I really see myself in this role, doesn't always mean that that's what the people who decide also think.
Yeah. No, it's true. There's this saying, and I can't remember exactly how it goes, but if it doesn't work out, there's always a lesson to be learned. So it's never a waste, even if it's not, even if you're not successful in it. But now, Alex, tell me what is the wish now for the future, or what are the wishes now for the future?
Oh, actually, during the Corona, I was always a person who had a plan, and I was always a person. I had my to-do lists. I know exactly what I wanted to do, and then with this whole, basically with the whole musical theater, that completely changed. It sounds cheesy, but that completely changed my life, because I was in the office before, and I was kind of pursuing this kind of career of studying, I don't know, international management, then becoming like going up the ladder. And then something said, well, but try musical theater and just throw yourself into this new environment. And since then, I realized that I don't really know if I want to have this specific plan that I'm following. At the moment, I'm kind of taking things as they come, and I try to more listen to my gut feeling and to being open to what's meant to come, basically. I mean, that sounds so wishy-washy, but yeah, I'm just trying to work on myself and work on the voice, on the dancing, on the acting, and on all these aspects. I'm just trying to see where life leads me, really. But I'm really open. I've always had my interests in many different topics, in many different jobs. Also, I think musical theater is such a broad job where you can do so many different things. But it always depends what's coming and who's gonna maybe be brave enough to bring a new musical or something new where I fit in, or just also taking the time for myself to just relax and enjoy maybe a period of time where I don't have a job, which is coming in November, December, and just see how I feel then. So I've recently thought I want to enjoy the little things more, like the everyday things. I don't know, I'm riding my bike more, and I'm going to the gym more at the moment, and I really enjoy this, and it gives me another kind of energy in my daily life after playing the show every day for 3 years, kind of thing. So I really rediscovering after this long process of being in Cats and Grease, like what do I want and what do I stand for, and I'm kind of re-evaluating what my values are and what I want. So still in that process, and I'm still figuring out. And but I don't want to have this one goal or these two goals where I want to be. I want to take more time in my private life, of course, and I want to enjoy this more with the relationship and the dog that I have, and give this the time that it deserves, and not being thrown around all the time.
Well, I know, I can tell you from my experience, I did the same thing. I actually made a time where I said, if nothing happens by this time for me in photography, then I'm going to put my camera away. And I said, and I actually wrote the date in a book. Mm-hmm. I wrote, this was coming from South Africa on a holiday. I flew back and I wrote in this book, if by March, this was December 2019, I wrote, if by March 2020 nothing happens for me in photography, I'm putting my camera away. I'm never going to do photography again. And it ended up my biggest photography project happened in March 2020,
Wow.
and I could never have imagined, sitting here and doing interviews. So I think sometimes it's a good thing to, put that aside and just let it be what is coming. You can have an idea of in the direction you want to go, but I think sometimes life will bring to you what you have to do. So
I think so too.
Yeah.
Hope so too.
No, definitely. If ever in doubt, call me. I can tell you.
I will.
But anyway, but Alex, this was so lovely to talk to you. I just want one last question before my voice is going, it seems. Can you do a shout out for your favorite restaurant or coffee shop in Vienna?
My favorite coffee shop has to be the Kaffeefabrik. Which is I think on a Otto Bauer Gasse. It's close to Maria Hilfer Straße, but they have another one in the 4th district, I think, as well. My favorite restaurant. Oh, there's so many good ones. It's hard. My favorite restaurant is maybe, I don't know if it's my favorite, but a very good one, also close to Maria Hilfer Straße. It's called Macron, and it's it's not Lebanese. It is Israeli. It's an Israeli restaurant.
Oh,
Israeli restaurant.
okay.
Yeah, very, very delicious. Very good. Makom.
Okay.
So these are my two very spontaneous shout outs. I have more.
I asked the conductor once what his favorite restaurant is, and he said Mensa at MDV.
Yeah. Yeah, it's also good. Yeah. No, we don't have one. So
So I know where people hang out when I ask this question.
yeah. No, but the Kaffeefabrik is very, very good. I can recommend.
Yeah,
Great people also.
Yeah, I've been there once with my daughter, so I know. Alex, have a lovely evening, and it was so lovely to talk to you. And I hope to see you in a show or in the next big musical that's in Vienna. Let me know.
Crossed.
Yeah, let me know.
Thank you so much, Petra.
It
was a pleasure.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And have a lovely evening.
You too. Thank you very much.
Okay. Okay, Alex. Bye-bye.
See you soon. Bye-bye.
Bye.